All right, guys, so we're going to get started with the routine submitted by Fancy category, okay? And so he says pumping. I start with four warm-up 1-minute sets at 5 Hg, which is really inches of mercury, 6 inches of mercury, 8 inches of mercury, and then 10 inches of mercury. So first of all, that's actually a really good warm-up, especially when you're doing 1-minute sets. And that's a great way to gradually progress and gradually basically build up to a working set time. So I actually really like that. So you're starting off strong. The one question I have is, like, are you going into the pump flaccid or are you going in erect? Because if you are taking this approach, it actually doesn't matter that much, because using a gradual progression, you're going to continue to bring blood into your venous and basically continue to engorge it. So actually, it doesn't really matter. I re-strengthen erection after each warm-up set. Reasonable. I don't think that's actually necessary. So clearly you're going in hard there, especially if you're just building up to it and that's your warm-up. I don't think it's needed between those 1-minute sets. Between the actual working sets, now that's something different. And so then he says working sets, 9 to 10 sets at -11 inches of mercury, 3 minutes a set. I like the 3-minute set times. That's going to help to decrease the edema, decrease the risk of the petechia or the red dots. If you guys don't know about what petechia is, see my other video on it. But 9 to 10 sets, that's like right at the upper limit of what I would recommend. I won't even include the warm-up sets, but let's say, so he says total pump time is about 32 to 35 minutes. I like really the 30-minute cutoff. What are 2 or 5 minutes? What difference is that going to make? Probably not that much, maybe just some additional edema, but overall, I don't think that's really a big deal. Then he says he uses 250 milligrams of hyaluronic acid. How are you taking that, dude? I'm not quite sure. Do you mean malic acid by chance? Hyaluronic acid typically is injected in things like lip fillers or even penile fillers. I'm just not quite sure what you mean by that. 25 milligrams of sildenafil or Viagra. That's a pretty reasonable dose. When you're talking about what is the max dose of Viagra recommended or prescribed, typically you're looking at 100 milligrams. And so that's like a quarter of that dose. I still think that's a very good dose for any guy with normal erection quality. That is enough to absolutely feel it and get rock hard. I do think there's benefits to using erection aids especially when you're talking about pumping for girth, because you put yourself in basically a maximized state and then you use that negative pressure to expand and push past that. You guys know I have an entire playlist on Viagra and Cialis and PDE5 inhibitors that you should check out after this, but I'm a big proponent of it, especially Cialis. The problem with sildenafil or Viagra is it only has about a 4-hour half-life, so it's going to be out of your system relatively quick. So I just don't think you get as much bang for your buck, if you will. I think a Cialis prescription, literally half-life is 17.5 hours. You get a dramatically longer period where it's in your system and working. And so that can even potentially carry over to like nighttime, for example. So you can have maximum erection quality at night during your nocturnal erections. Guys, if you haven't seen my video on nocturnal erections and why they're so important, please check them out. But I like the sildenafil, the 4 grams of citrulline malate an hour before pumping. The thing about citrulline is its half-life is only about 2 to 3 hours. So if you are taking it, let's just say it's 2 hours. So you're taking it basically an hour before you pump. You're already losing a significant amount of activity at that time. It does kind of depend on what you have on your stomach as well, especially with Viagra. So the thing about Viagra that many people don't know is that it is definitely affected by how much food is on your stomach, where weirdly enough, Cialis is not. So Cialis, you can take it on a full stomach and you will still get effectivity at, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whereas Viagra, if you take it on a full stomach, it might be like an hour to an hour and a half before it actually takes its effect. So you need to be aware of that if you're using it for recreational purposes. If I were you, I would probably take the citrulline, assuming that you don't have like a big meal on your stomach, somewhere closer to maybe 30 to 45 minutes prior to your routine for maximum effectiveness. Then he says, I use 11 grams of collagen peptide post-pumping. So personally, if you ask me, I don't think collagen does anything beneficial. And there's actually a great post by a guy named Semtex, SEMTEX7, I believe is his username, that talks about collagen and how it could potentially be actually detrimental to your gains. So I definitely don't recommend that you use a collagen. I think you get enough from your diet. And I don't know, I don't think it's like a controversial take. I just don't think there's a role for collagen, even though everybody always talks about
collagen in your tuna cup.
It's way more complicated than that. I don't recommend using the collagen. If you want to continue to do it, I mean, go for it, bro. Then he says he does the routine 6 to 7 days a week. So pumping like 35 minutes, 7 days a week, that is a lot. But overall, I think as long as you're not suffering from like poor erection quality, I think that's actually pretty reasonable. So dude, I mean, the key thing is I do think you're limiting your gains by not doing any kind of manual work in there, because even if you're not going for length, I do think that working length helps to facilitate more girth gains. Now, with this routine, I do think you can what your current routine, I do think you can gain length and girth. I just think you could definitely expedite both if you were to incorporate even something like 10 minutes of manual work before you start pumping. Overall, I mean, I like this, man. This is one of the better ones that I've seen. I would probably give this, I'm kind of torn between a B plus and an A minus, but I'm going to go ahead and give it an A minus. I think it's a good routine. Strong work. So, hey guys, if you're just joining me, I go by the name of Hink. I'm an actual real medical doctor. That's why I wear this mask, to protect my anonymity. And I am a big proponent of men's health and penile enlargement. So what we're doing today is we're going through my subreddit. I have a post where I say, hey, submit your routines, and we go over it and I make video about it. If you want to possibly be featured on the next video, go to my subreddit r/Hink and submit your routine on my next request, which will be next week sometime. All right, guys, so let's get into the next one. So the next one is going to be Jaded Click. He says, manuals, 1 minute down, 1 minute out, repeat for 15-minute totals. For total, I would do some extra in bed or in the shower if I have time or if I couldn't sleep. And this is done 5 to 6 days a week. So I think that's pretty solid, man, actually. I don't think manuals, it really takes too much time to actually get the results that you want. In my opinion, I don't think straight out is particularly, like, it's fine. You're still going to gain. I just think you'd be better served by going in the, like, basically the straight down position, or even like the 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock position. I think that downward tension allows, number one, for you to use gravity. And so you can use the weight of your hand to help rather than just your strength. But I also think there are some potential benefits, especially the appearance of a bigger penis, by working on the suspensory ligament. So if I were you, I would just do sets of basically even just straight down, or actually even behind the cheek, I think is, or between the cheek, I think is very effective when it comes to length. But overall, I think that's good, especially trying to get in some extra reps when you can. So he's pumping. He has a 1.7-inch air pump. Probably got it, a high-quality pump from peakmalePhysique.com. Okay, guys, so if you're looking for these products, you can find all of them there. 10 inches of mercury, 10 INHG is what it should be. 5 sets of 2 minutes on. And so it's about 10 minutes, and then would decrease to like 1 inch of mercury, and then pump back up to 10 for the next set. So, okay, I think that's fine. I think personally, if you ask me, guys, I have a whole pumping playlist, but I also have a specific video about what do I think is the ideal pumping pressure. I think the ideal range when it comes to gains is between 10 to 12 inches of mercury. At most, 14. When I'm doing my working sets now, I try to get to about 12, maybe 13. I actually don't like to push it to 14 because I start to get too much edema. I do think that's okay if you can tolerate it. For some guys, 5 inches of mercury feels like their D is about to break off. And obviously, don't push it, guys. Do what you can feel comfortable doing. But I would try to push it a little bit more if you could, safely. Then edging with the C-ring in place for 10 minutes, that's fine. I do think there's actually benefits to edging. So I'm actually a proponent of edging. Edging with the C-ring in place, you're fine. It's 10 minutes. That's absolutely not going to hurt anything. You do obstruct some lymphatic channels when you have that C-ring in place. And so just watch out for things like a lymphocele to form. But in general, that's fine. You also just want to be careful with your pelvic floor. When you're edging, you're frequently like constricting your pelvic floor muscles, and you don't want to get those to the point where they're hypertonic and you start developing things like erectile dysfunction and hard flaccid. Just make sure you incorporate stretching into this routine. If you haven't seen my videos on like why to not do Kegels, like stop doing Kegels now. I do a deeper dive into pelvic floor health and things that you can do to prevent pelvic floor dysfunction. Supplements, vigor, virility, fortitude. Boom, dude. Already, this is an A+. This is an S tier routine because he bought all my shit. I mean, I'm joking, but obviously, guys, I designed these supplements to be maximum effectiveness. I think that's great. GNC Mega Men. Vitamins are a billion-dollar sham industry. Just so you guys know, unless you have a true deficiency, most vitamins are not going to do anything for you. That's my take, but that's also backed by science. Backed by science, rather. And so if you don't take my word for it, go on to a reputable source, like go to PubMed and just read about vitamins and how it is a billion-dollar, basically sham industry for most people. Not everybody, but most people. But Mega Men, like that's fine. I don't even know what's in it, but it's probably like a complex like vitamins, and especially B vitamins, and zinc, vitamin C. I mean, like whatever, it's fine. It's not going to really hurt you. And then you say horny goat weed. The one thing I would caution is that you already have horny goat weed and fortitude. And so if you're taking an additional horny goat weed supplement, if you haven't seen my video on horny goat weed, you need to check it out, because if you actually take too much Icodin, it can actually lower your testosterone levels. That's why I specifically chose the dose I did for fortitude, because sure, there's room to go up, but I didn't want to risk some of those side effects from having too high a dose. I would probably take that out if I were you, or if you want to keep that, I would take fortitude out, though fortitude has many other active ingredients. So, whatever you want to do, I would not use the additional horny goat weed. I did the same routine every day for 4 months. My bones pressed stretch flaccid length increased from a little over 6 to 7. So that's wonderful, man. Non-bone pressed looked about 1/4 of an inch. Okay, wonderful. And mean mid-shaft erect girth about 1/2 an inch. So that's tremendous, tremendous gains in 4 months. Guys, do not expect to get gains like that. Do not. If he's saying an inch in length, let's see, non-bone pressed erect length, 1/4 of an inch, and about 1/2 an inch in girth. Yeah, don't expect those gains, guys, using this routine. Could be a hyper responder. He could be measuring with a little bit of edema after the pump or whatnot. Either way, that's fantastic that you're growing and you're seeing those results. The erection quality gains, especially from using things like vigor and fortitude, can absolutely cause an increase in size on its own. There was a study published that actually showed that you can get up to 1.8 centimeters from using Viagra alone. So erection quality is so freaking underrated. And working out played a huge factor in his results. So he did have an injury. And so I do wonder what his injury was from because, well, then he talks about, I got to quit smoking again. So guys, nicotine is extremely dangerous when you're doing penile enlargement activities. Absolutely, smoking played a role in your injury. I'd be willing to bet that potentially the edging also played a role in your injury, especially if we're talking about like pelvic floor health, hard flaccid. Anyways, he says, I'm going to get back to it. I'm going to quit smoking again, get back in the gym. Any advice is greatly appreciated. But yeah, that's my take on your routine, man. I think it's good overall. I'm going to give this, whatever. I'll give it a solid B+. I'm going to give it a solid B+, especially because you were focusing on the gym, maximizing your erection quality. So I think it's a good routine, man. But hopefully that review is helpful. All right, guys, next we have a post by Environmental Load. And he says, thanks, Hink. For sure, brother. I'm glad I could, help you out. Thank you for submitting to my channel, and hopefully thank you for watching this YouTube video. So he says, I started in November 2023 with 6.25 bone pressed erect length, around 5.5 non-bone pressed, and about 5.5 mid-shaft girth. Okay, I started with the bathmate, 3 sets of 5 minutes, and a ton of edema. And honestly, it was the dubious alpha male videos that inspired me to get the bathmate. Guys, if you haven't seen my videos on Alpha M and why his advice is such trash and misleading, please check it out. A decade ago, I got the Size Genetics noose hanger. Yikes. Okay, guys, for those that don't know, a noose hanger, you strap your D in and then you use the silicone noose and you tighten it down with that. And it can be very dangerous. I guess a cord would be more appropriate. It literally is like a cord wrapping around your D. So that's dangerous. But it can potentially work if you don't injure yourself. After I got the bathmate device, I started watching all of your BD and Perv Mixware's videos. I appreciate you, supporting what I would call the big three. Hopefully I don't start a Kendrick beef like that about the big three. Hashtag OVO baby, all day, every day. OVO gang, OVO Hink baby. Said I started watching y'all's videos, landed on the routine, started around February, March 2024. Minimal warm up, a hot shower. That's great. All you need is actually some heat or some hot water, something to increase blood flow. If you haven't seen my video on heat, check it out, guys. Light manual stretching or a heat pad, perfect. Great warm-up, okay? Then the Apex do-it-yourself hanger. So 5-minute reps for a total of 60 minutes. Working my way up from 5 to about 10 to 12. Angled straight down, maybe slightly angled. I think that's great, man. I really like the shorter sets of the 5 minutes. You can take a break, assess, make sure that nothing's wrong. I don't know how tedious that is. The key to PE is longevity, meaning how long you can do it consistently. So if that is tedious to 5 minutes on, 5 minutes off, 5 minutes on, you might want to start pushing it out to maybe 10 minutes on. So you only have to assess it half as much to make sure you stay with it long term. But I think that's perfect. The 5-minute sets is perfect. Don't get me wrong. Pumping 5-minute reps for a total of 20 to 25 minutes between 10 to 12 inches of mercury. So A+, dude, A+. So far, you're getting an A+ so far for everything you're doing right now. So interesting. I also did the P-Long protocol. So guys that don't know what the P-Long trial is, see my video on the P-Long and see also my video on PRP. But it's basically it's platelet-rich plasma that is injected into your penis. 6 monthly PRP shots. I had maybe 1/4 of an inch of EQ gains. And then I went from 6.5 inches bone pressed erect length to 7.1 bone pressed erect length. Let's see. Now, with all that variability, my EQ notwithstanding all this PE work, my average bone pressed erect length might be as low as 6.7 and it might be 5.75. But if we look at what he started with, 6.25 and 5.5, that's significant increase in size, guys. So he says, I'm also on 5 milligrams daily Cialis. In my opinion, that's kind of a lot. I mean, if you don't have any issues with erection quality, then I would try to cut down to 2.5 milligrams, especially if you're taking 5 grams of citrulline. And he says, I can't do vigor because I have severe dairy allergy. We do have a very, very teeny tiny amount of casein hydrolate. Casein is a byproduct of dairy protein. We've talked about removing it, but we do feel like it's very effective for the pump that it gives and like the nitric oxide boost. I understand, man. I appreciate you even considering my supplement. 5 grams of creatine. Creatine, in my opinion, is not going to do anything for PE. It can slightly increase DHT levels. Increased DHT levels could, in theory, do something, but I don't think that's really going to make a difference. But, you know, do you? And he's avoiding any 5-alpha reductase inhibitors. See, I experimented with the vibration with the same tool that BD uses, but I got super swollen lymph channels on one occasion, and on another occasion, I got nasty petechia. And thank you for making me feel not crazy, because vibration, when I've used it, I don't know if it's increased any amount of size or expedited my results. And I had crazy petechia the first time I did it, and I also get a significantly more edema every time I use it. I mean, I certainly don't wish that you had a negative experience with it, but it is validating when so many people are like, oh my God, vibration. So he says, my D just can't take that kind of stress, and it needs to be treated kindly. LOL. Thanks very much. So dude, this might be the best actual routine that I've seen thus far, man. You're going to get an A+. I think this is great. The one thing that I'll say is that, guys, with the PRP, you have to understand that there's no evidence that it enlarges penile size. Now, there's not necessarily evidence that it doesn't enlarge penile size either, but just on a principle of how it works, I don't understand how it would increase size. Even anecdotally, I know of maybe one person that has had permanent size increases from PRP. I'm just hesitant to say that it has any role. However, it can dramatically improve erection quality and absolutely help people recover from injuries. So to be very clear, I absolutely think that it works and has a role when you're talking about penile health. But when you're talking about penile enlargement, I don't think it has a role. But yeah, dude, A+ on this routine. I think that's going to do it for this video, guys. I'm trying to cut these a little bit shorter. So if you want to participate, go to r/Hink. If you need to reach me in consultation directly for injury coaching or enlargement coaching, my patreon.com/DocHink. If you want to be taught step-by-step by me how to get bigger, including everything from basically what you need to do before you get started and even post like enlargement care, you can see it in my course, guys. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Thank you so much for your time and attention. If you're still making it this far, please consider subscribing if you like what you saw. Otherwise, guys, remember, there's nothing wrong with self-improvement, but you are enough just the way you are. And I also need to incorporate somehow into my catchphrase, be the best version of yourself. So we're still tweaking that. We're still workshopping that. If you guys have any ideas, leave it in the comments below. All right, guys, until the next one, peace and love.
Dr. Hink got the plug on the health, yeah. Got you thinking about your wealth, yeah. In his office, no stealth, yeah. Pinnacle of that below the belt, yeah. Checks and balance, he's managing. Working miracles, no damage. Got you covered, no panicking. Stay calm. In the clinic, no vanishing. Yeah, with Doc Hink, it's the way back.